Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, think about this. What if you decided to walk around the entire world, not just, for a few months, but for years, decades even, and just kept going?
It's a pretty wild thought experiment, isn't it?
It really is. Today, we're taking a deep dive into an odyssey of human endurance that's almost unbelievable. Karl Bushby's Goliath Expedition.
A story that truly pushes the boundaries.
Absolutely. Picture this. Karl Bushby, he's a British ex-paratrooper. He sets out way back in 1998.
Almost 3 decades ago now.
Right, from Punta Arenas, Chile. And his goal? Well, it was audacious, to say the least, to be the first person ever to walk an unbroken path all the way back to his hometown, Hull, in England.
An unbroken path. That's key.
Exactly. Originally, he figured, okay, maybe 8 to 12 years to cover something like 36,000 miles.
It was already a staggering estimate.
Totally. But here's the real kicker. 27 years later, he is still walking.
Still going.
Still going. This isn't just a physical challenge, It's this relentless battle against nature, sure, but also against bureaucracy, red tape, and his own limits.
Yeah, the human element, both internal and external.
So our mission today is to really unpack this, to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from his journey, and maybe some related research too, to understand what it truly takes to keep something like this going.
You get a real sense of what happens when sheer human will meets, well, the world. The good, the bad, the frustrating.
It's not just about one man's walk, is it?
No, not at all. It's a fascinating lens, really, on the extreme demands on the body, on the spirit, and it highlights how crucial meticulous planning is.
But also how unpredictable things are.
Exactly. Even for someone hyper-prepared like Bushby, obstacles just appear. So yeah, you'll get insight into what happens when that unwavering will confronts the harshest environments and, maybe even tougher, the most frustrating red tape.
Okay, so let's start at the start. The Goliath Expedition, he called it.
Aptly named.
Right. It had 2 really strict rules, self-imposed. First, no transport at all. Only human power.
Walking, swimming, maybe skiing, whatever it took, as long as it was him moving himself.
And second rule, absolutely no going home until he was finished. Done. Back in Hull.
That commitment to unbroken footsteps, it's just huge. You have to really grasp what that implies.
It does, because it means even massive water barriers, oceans, seas, had to be crossed either on foot, like on ice, or through human power. Swimming, maybe.
Yeah, or paddling, kayaking, perhaps.
Yeah.
It completely redefines unbroken. It's not just skipping a tricky bit.
So those early years, they sound brutal, starting down in Patagonia.
Yeah, fierce winds, really desolate landscapes. Not exactly a gentle start.
No kidding. Then into the Atacama Desert, one of the driest places on Earth.
Exactly. So you're talking scorching heat during the day, freezing nights, and this constant, desperate need for water. Just finding water becomes the entire focus.
That alone tests your survival skills to the absolute limit.
Fundamentally, yeah.
Then, moving up through Central America, things changed again. He hit regions with, well, significant crime problems.
Right, so the threat shifts. Now it's not just nature, it's human danger. He faced robberies, muggings.
Which must have called on his military background, those survival skills, but in a totally different context.
Absolutely. But you mentioned something else too.
Yeah, amidst all that danger, there were also these moments of unexpected kindness, locals offering help, food, shelter.
It shows that duality, doesn't it? The risks and the human connection, often side by side on a journey like this.
It really does. Which brings up a big question.
How does the body cope?
Exactly. How does the human body handle that kind of sustained, diverse stress? Freezing, boiling, lack of water, physical threats, year after year.
Well, it points to a combination, I think. There's inherent resilience, sure, but also just extreme preparation. We're talking about conditioning most people can't even comprehend.
His body had to constantly adapt, didn't it? Not just to one climate, but shifting between extremes and dealing with the threat of danger, disease.
It's this continuous cycle of stress, adaptation, recovery over decades. Few people ever experience anything like that, constant demand.
Okay, so he makes it through all that. And then things get, well, even more intense. By 2005, he reaches Alaska.
Right, and the next big barrier is looming.
The Bering Strait. Legendary. This treacherous, frozen stretch of ocean that no human had ever walked across before.
Sounds impossible, doesn't it? Just saying it. Walking the Bering Strait.
It does. So how did he tackle that?
Well, this is a fascinating part. He didn't do it alone. He teamed up with an American adventurer, Dmitry Kiefer.
Okay.
And in March 2006, the two of them set out. So in 14 days, crossing about 150 miles, that's 240 kilometers of frozen, but moving, sea ice.
Moving ice.
Yeah, constantly shifting.
Oh.
And the temperatures plunging down to -50 Fahrenheit, that's -45 Celsius.
Unimaginable cold.
Truly. This wasn't just a hard walk, it was an extreme survival test. They even had, get this, a terrifying run-in with a polar bear.
A polar bear on the ice.
Yep, stalking them. They literally walked where no one had walked before, facing down primal threats.
That's next level. The mental strength required for that.
Yeah.
To face a polar bear and then just keep going. Mind-boggling.
It really is.
So you'd think, okay, he made history, conquered this insane natural barrier. Maybe things get easier now.
You would think, but no. Almost immediately after stepping onto Russian soil.
He gets detained.
Exactly. Detained by Russian border officers. Why? He didn't have the right visas to enter the way he did.
After walking across the Bering Strait.
Yep. And they threatened him with a 5-year ban from Russia.
Which would have just ended the entire expedition right there.
Instantly. Decades of effort, potentially down the drain because of paperwork.
It really highlights something critical, doesn't it? This often overlooked part of big expeditions.
Bureaucracy. It's become like the new mountain range for global adventurers. His progress through Russia was incredibly slow because of their visa rules. Strict 90-day limits.
Meaning he had to leave Russia every 90 days.
Correct. He had to physically leave the country, often flying all the way back to Mexico, just to reset the clock and re-enter to continue walking from where he left off.
That's a completely different kind of endurance test.
Absolutely. Not physical, but administrative. And in many ways just as daunting, maybe more so because it's so arbitrary sometimes. And then the hammer fell. In 2013, they hit him with an actual, official 5-year ban.
Oh, man. After all that effort, the ban actually happened.
It did.
So what do you do then if you're Karl Bushby, committed to this unbroken path, can't go home? What's the move?
His response was, well, typical Karl Bushby, perhaps. Extraordinary. He decided to walk.
Walk where?
From Los Angeles, where he was, all the way across the U.S. to the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C.
Just to protest the ban. How far is that?
About 3,000 miles, 4,800 kilometers, just to make a point and plead his case.
Wow. That is dedication. Did it work?
It did. His persistence, walking right up to their door, basically paid off. The ban was eventually lifted in October 2014. He could finally go back and continue his walk in Russia.
An amazing display of fighting for the dream, even against bureaucratic walls.
Definitely. And it brings us to a really crucial point about this kind of sustained, extreme effort. We can actually learn a lot by looking at some research from other, maybe shorter, but still incredibly intense expeditions.
Like what?
Well, there's a really interesting study on 2 Norwegian Navy SEALs, Rune Gjeldnes and Tori Larsen. They did this unsupported ski trek across Greenland.
Unsupported across Greenland? That sounds intense.
Oh, it was. 2,928 kilometers. Took them 86 days.
Wow. And what did they find?
These guys were pulling sleds weighing 150 kilos, that's over 330 pounds, ski marching about 9 hours every single day.
Okay.
And crucially, they were on a very high-calorie diet, around 6,000 calories a day, very energy-dense food.
Right. Fueling the machine, basically.
Yeah.
What was the physical impact after nearly 3 months of that?
This is the fascinating part. They found only minor losses in their physical capacity, very little loss of lean body mass. And their key hormone levels, their endocrine markers, were pretty much normal.
Really? After all that?
But the researchers attributed it directly to 2 things. Their meticulous preparation, obviously these guys were elite operators, but critically, that consistently high energy intake. The calories.
So fuel matters a lot.
Immensely. It contrasts sharply with other studies like, say, U.S. Army Ranger training, where they intentionally restrict food. In those cases, you see significant drops in physical performance.
Okay, so adequate energy intake seems vital to sustaining performance under extreme stress.
It suggests that if you fuel the body properly, it can withstand incredible hardship with relatively minor physical degradation, at least over that kind of time frame.
But Karl's journey is, well, it's not 86 days, it's decades.
Exactly. That's where it becomes even more complex. The Greenland study gives us a baseline for extreme short-term endurance. Karl, we're looking at sustained wear and tear over 27 years. The body's ability to continually repair itself.
And the psychological side.
Oh, absolutely immense. The mental discipline to wake up every day for decades, knowing you have to walk, knowing you can't go home yet, and finding the will to just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
That's a whole different landscape.
A psychological Everest, you could say. Few people ever navigate that.
So we've got nutrition, physical prep, and this incredible mental fortitude. How does Karl's approach stack up over the long haul, especially with his gear and food?
Well, reflecting what we learned from the Greenland study, he relies heavily on high-calorie dehydrated food. He often mentions the Mountain House brand keeps the weight down, but the energy intake up.
Smart. And his gear.
Meticulously chosen and maintained. Zamberlan boots, built for extreme trekking, a North Face Mountain 25 tent, a classic expedition tent, and MSR XGK stoves, which is crucial for melting snow in cold regions.
Reliable stuff.
Exactly. And for navigation and safety, a Garmin GPS, an Iridium satellite phone. He even standardizes things like battery types across devices to simplify logistics.
Makes sense.
So the research, like that Greenland study, supports this. It shows that well-trained, experienced trekkers, if they have adequate energy intake, can handle incredibly long, tough journeys in harsh conditions with relatively minor physical losses. Bushby's journey, despite its insane length, kind of mirrors this principle.
The link between energy. Yeah.
But then there's the external factor that kept cropping up.
The visas.
The visas. His constant struggle with bureaucracy became an obstacle just as formidable, maybe even more unpredictable than any mountain or desert.
Which forced him to be incredibly adaptable, right?
Massively adaptable.
Yeah.
Which leads us nicely into the next phase.
Right. After finally getting through Russia, his journey took him across Mongolia.
Yeah, and he even used camels for a stretch there, crossing the Gobi Desert with another adventurer, Angela Maxwell, before continuing on his own, using whatever human or animal power fits the terrain.
But then comes another ingenious, maybe slightly crazy adaptation.
His plan B, to avoid more visa headaches, specifically trying to get through Iran and potentially back into Russia later.
What was plan B?
Swimming the Caspian Sea.
Swimming the Caspian Sea. How big is that?
The stretch he needed to cross from Kazakhstan to Azerbaijan was 288 kilometers. That's about 179 miles.
He decided to swim 179 miles at age 55.
Yep, in August 2024. And he readily admits he's definitely not a swimmer.
That sounds absolutely wild. How on earth did he manage that and still stick to his human-powered rule? He wasn't resting on a boat the whole time.
No, the logistics were fascinating. He completed the swim over 31 days, but the actual swimming time was 132 hours.
Okay, how did that work?
He'd swim in 2 sessions each day, usually about 3 hours each. Then he'd rest on a support boat overnight. Crucially, the boat would mark the exact GPS spot where he got out, and he'd start from that precise spot the next day.
Ah, so maintaining the unbroken line, even on water.
Exactly. And he wasn't alone in the water. Angela Maxwell joined him again, plus 2 Azerbaijani national swimmers. And get this for a detail. For communication with the support boat, especially in choppy water when shouting was difficult, they used dog shock collars.
No way! Dog collars?
Yeah, set to vibrate, or a low setting apparently. A way to signal without yelling. It just shows the level of creative problem solving involved.
That's incredible ingenuity. Proof that human-powered can take many forms when the will is strong enough.
It really is.
So all these challenges overcome, the walk, the swim, where does that leave him now? What's the status for the final push?
Well, a major milestone was reached fairly recently. On May 2nd, 2025, Karl walked across the Bosphorus Strait in Istanbul.
Using the July 15 Martyrs Bridge.
That's the one. Symbolically and literally entering Europe, the final continent on his journey.
Must have felt huge, the home stretch, relatively speaking.
You'd imagine so.
Yeah.
Although, currently, as we record this, he's actually back in Mexico.
Mexico.
Waiting for a new Turkish visa.
Ah, the bureaucracy strikes again.
It seems to be the recurring theme, doesn't it? But he's hoping to get back to Turkey and resume walking in August 2025.
And the end goal, Hull. When does he anticipate finally reaching it?
His current projection is September 2026.
September 2026. That would make it 28 years.
28 years after he started. Just astonishing.
It really is, especially when you think back to his original estimate, 8 to 12 years.
Yeah, the scale is just hard to comprehend. He even made a comment himself about how much the UK has changed since he left.
Oh, yeah.
He noted there have been, 5 or 6 different prime ministers since he started walking?
Wow. That really puts the sheer duration into perspective, doesn't it? The world kept spinning, changing dramatically, while he just kept walking.
One foot in front of the other.
So, Karl Bushby's Goliath Expedition, it's clearly way more than just a very, very long walk.
Oh, absolutely.
It's this living, breathing testament to human persistence, isn't it? To physical endurance, yes, but also to navigating those unseen battles, the red tape, the logistics.
It's about pushing boundaries, constantly adapting to things you could never have predicted.
And just clinging on to a dream for, well, almost 3 decades. You've heard about the physical toll, the mental game, the sheer ingenuity needed.
And it leaves you with a big question to think about, doesn't it? What are the actual limits of human endeavor? Not just physically, maybe not even psychologically, but when you're up against a constantly changing world with all its complex, often frustrating rules.
Yeah, and how do you even define unbroken when your biggest hurdles aren't mountains or deserts anymore, but visas,
Mm.
political borders, things on a map that aren't physical barriers but are just as hard to cross?
Exactly. And maybe one final thought. How much does the world itself change? How much do we change in the time it takes one incredibly determined person to simply walk across it?